What is up? Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins, and today, man, we have a dude back in the studio once again. We've had him on several times, and here's why. Every time this guy gets on, he drops complete gold. He's also very vulnerable and direct and transparent about what he goes through in business, which I think because he's just a real human being, like people relate to him. He gets tons of agents reach out for help because of his message and his story and the amount of value he brings. And, you know, he's helped a lot of agents get to six figures, and a lot of agencies get to multiple 6 and 7. And so it's really impressive to see. So please welcome back all the way from Utah. Came to speak on a virtual conference and hang out in the studio for the day from Brady Insurance Marketing, Mr. Ty Brady.
Thanks for having me, Cody. It's always a pleasure. You know, it's been a minute to get here, but we're here. Yeah, and, you know, you and I are sitting like, what do we strategize? What do we do? Where do we go? And I think, you know, I asked you, like, what do I need to do next, right? And then we also had the conversation of, you know, where is this going? And, you know, how can I help you? And I'm like, Cody, everything's great. I mean, I am amazed and skeptical at the time. You know, we started this journey about a year ago, and to watch the growth and what's transpired, it's been absolutely amazing. Awesome. And I'm like, how can we do more of it, make a bigger impact, help more people? And that's why I'm here. And yeah, I was cracking up like, Cody, it's a journey to get to Missouri. It is a journey. Bro. I mean, I get up at 6 a.m. I get here last night at 7 p.m. All the delays, my luggage gets lost. Didn't know I was going to have luggage, and now I'm here. But I'm glad I'm here. So thanks for having me again.
Dude, thank you, buddy. I love that you're here. Here's what I love about Ty, okay, if you guys are watching, man, and thinking, okay, how do I end up getting on the platform and getting involved, man? I like that he has a lot of value to bring. He's helped create a lot of successful individuals in the space, which is really, really cool. And maybe you're one of the next ones, which is nice for the Ty Brady makeover. 3 is he's very positive. Like, he's always looking for the win, and he always is finding ways to help make sure things go well. You know, I love that. And so those are things that I respect. Those are things that I've learned. As you look back, because you have about I think you have about a dozen agents a week that are like literally joining your organization, which is wild. That's 600 a year. And you're not even trying quite yet. Like, that's what's impressive. Like, you're doing a good job. You're doing a lot, but like, you're not like begging people to work with you. You know, you don't have like this huge recruiting team that's like pounding the phones and cold calling. You know what I mean? Like, but I just feel like why do you think your agents are doing so well? Agencies are doing so well. Why do you think your retention of agents and agencies is so high? You know, why do you think this whole thing just keeps improving and getting better without you having to like staff up with an insane amount of people and like cold call and like outbound hardcore beg people to work with you?
That is a really good question, Cody. I've actually pondered that question myself, but I've got a good recruiting team, number one, right? And I've got a lot of good contracting people on the back end, but you know, it goes back to my mentor. My mentor was very adamant about answering the phone. And I think today's day and age is, you know, people reach out for a reason. And I'll tell you some stories here in a minute about a couple of agents that reached out, and they're on my team because they reached out to some other agencies and nobody called them back. And what they've been able to do since then.
Heard that a lot.
So one is that we're not perfect at it, right? But what I would say is that if somebody makes a call, somebody makes an email, somebody sends a text message, is the commitment to myself, not only me, but my team, is to get back with them and let them know that they've been heard. Most of the time, if somebody's reaching out, they have a problem, they have a concern, you know, they're whatever the reason is, they need communication. And today's day and age is like people want to be pushed to an automated email, automated voicemail, all those things. So I would say that is something that's a little bit different is I've been able to do a lot just by saying, hey, can I get back with you later today? So actually having a conversation rather than just being forced to a voicemail or some kind of automated system. Now, there are some automated things I do when I'm like, hey, I have a conversation with somebody who wants to come on board. I have some pre-recorded webinars that are an hour long. And I say, hey, do you mind watching this? Let's have a conversation after you do that. Because it's the repetitive things. It's all the value adds that we bring. And what's amazing is after I have that conversation, you know, get to know the person a little bit better, or even one of my recruiters, they watch that video and they're like, I'm ready to go. Because it's told them all of the things that we offer that they're not getting somewhere else. I think that's a big player in what we're able to do.
I think it's in everything that I heard, and like, you know, and this relates to business and being successful, right? This is a big nugget that I just heard, is that it's showing up, trying, and putting in the work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, most people do, like answering the phone. dude, it's like, how hard is that? But most people don't. Most people do not return phone calls. You know, like it drives my wife nuts because anytime we are anywhere traveling or just busy, I respond to people pretty quick, and I can't help it because it becomes a habit. However, I've worked with some of the bigger names in the space like yourself, and the best thing that they always say is, dude, you're responsive. I can get a hold of you, and I appreciate it so much. So to hear you say that, it's like, I wonder if that's like a trait of like top successful entrepreneurs is like, I'm not saying people are always available because they get busy and, you know, eventually you need to.
Or have somebody that, hey, you can't get me, call this person.
Correct.
Go 2 or 3 layers deep, right?
Which is great because then you at least have a solution.
Yeah.
And you're trying to help them in a way, even if it's not you, you know?
I think that's contributed to my mentor. I remember being in the office with my mentor, and if that phone rang and didn't get picked up, he would lose his mind. I mean, literally lose his mind. And if it got pushed to voicemail, he was beside himself. And then if he wasn't in the office, he made sure someone in his office made that call, and he had somebody, hey, can you take my calls for the week? I'm going to be out of town.
Yeah.
He wanted to have that personal touch.
What else have you noticed? Because you work with a ton of, I think there's over 100,000 applications been submitted, you know, through your agency amongst your block, maybe even inactive policies. When you think about the more successful, like multi-6-figure and 7-figure agencies, we've mentioned a few things. What else stands out? What else do you notice by some of these? Because you got some super impressive players that work with you.
Yeah, I know. And when I introduce you to a new manager, like Ty, they're just awesome, right?
Yeah, correct.
And I've got a lot of them. I think part of it is they didn't try and reinvent the wheel, right? I was mentored by a man that had been in the Medicare space for when Medicare began. He started out with Bankers Life and Casualty as a captive agent, and then he transitioned to independent, and a very, very successful, well-respected man. And he used to tell me all the time, he's like, everything in my brain, Ty, I need to get into yours. And so there's many days I'm like, you know, what would Ron do? Or how would he approach this? Or what would he say? And I've just tried to duplicate that and honor his name because I wouldn't be where I'm at without a great mentor. I mean, there isn't anybody out there that's a sole entrepreneur. So I say that for my mentor, just trying to pass that down and then trying to, you know, I would say one weakness is Ron wasn't very technology savvy, right? And then, in fact, unfortunately, he passed away. But, you know, taking what he taught me and then actually accelerating, put fuel on the fire with all the technology things we have to offer.
Yeah, correct. That makes a ton of sense too. Like, what percentage of agents? I was thinking about this. What percentage of agents do you think lack a mentor in this business?
Ooh, I don't know what that number would be, but I would tell them they need one.
Yeah.
And they need to have that somebody that they can talk to. Some of the greatest conversations I ever had is after I went and ran an appointment, and I would go in there and say, here's what I ran into. What could I have done, right? Yeah. Or how come I didn't close this sale? Or what did I miss? And there was times I was frustrated where in the early days, you know, I'd go and run a lead and the consumer would cancel. And I would go into Ron's office and have a conversation, and he would come back and he would say, just go write another one. And some days I'm like, that's not what I want to hear, right? I'm like, you know, how do I get it back? He's like, just go write another one. Or, you know, I'd get a back charge for a policy I wrote. He's like, just go write another one. You know, just those things you're just like, it's not, you know, it's not what you want to hear, but it's what I did.
Good solution though.
Yeah.
Just go write another
but
one.
It would, or I'd say, okay, I had this objection. What would you say? Right? And he would give me ideas. There were some times because he's like, I don't know what I would do. So then I'd have to go and do research on Google and be like, okay, I had this problem. This was the objection, because sales is solution-based selling. And what is interesting to me is when I talk to agents and I'm like, okay, so why did they send the lead card in? Why did they send it in? Very basic question. They're like, I don't know. I'm like, well, what are you doing there then? Are you a professional visitor? I mean, they sent a lead in. They need help. You've got to ask the hard questions. Is it because their doctor's not a network? Is it because they don't like their drug? And they're like, well, they said they like everything about their plan. I said, it's not true. They don't like everything about their plan because they wouldn't have sent a lead card in. So what was the heartburn when they sent the lead card in? Because then if it's the doctor's not a network, well, there's my in to talk about a plan that gets their doctor a network. That's solution-based selling rather than just having, and I don't know if I've told you this story, but when I was younger, I had a guy, I knocked on his door for our appointment, and the first thing he said to me, he says, Ty, you don't look old enough to be helping me with my Medicare. And I'm like, I was speechless. And I looked younger, and I said, well,
what age were you then?
Oh, man, I would have been late 20s, late 20s, early 30s. And I'm like, the thing that came to me, I said, listen, Ron always said it takes 15 minutes to determine whether they're even a prospect. And he used to tell me that you don't even know they're a prospect until you have a conversation. So I said, sir, give me 15 minutes. And there's a presentation that we have. It's a flip chart that talks about the basis of Medicare. And I said, give me 15 minutes. I said, you can put a timer on your table. And if I haven't proven my value, you can tell me there's the door. I'll pack up and go. He's like, well, come on in. So I came in, no joke. He put this like a stopwatch. It wasn't a stopwatch, but a watch on his wrist on the table and started keeping track of the time.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, okay, I'm under the gun, right? So I just started explaining everything I learned. Okay, here's Medicare A. Here's Medicare Part B. Here you have a card that looks like this. Going through that whole process. And by the end, I saw the time getting a little bit down, and I said, "Have I told you enough that I can stay?" And he slapped the table as hard as he could, and he says, "Ty, you can stay." He said, "I'm 70 years old or 75. I can't remember the age. He's over 70. I finally understand how Medicare works." I ended up getting that deal. He actually was the mayor of a small town and referred me to all of the city council members. And I was scared to death and terrified, shaking. I mean, my hands were sweaty. I'm going to blow this deal, right? But I just remembered just those things. It's going to take 15 minutes whether I can even help them. And did the presentation like I'd been taught, what is Medicare, what it does, what it doesn't do. Here's Medicare Advantage. Here's Medicare supplements. Here's the gaps. What would you like to do? Solution-based selling. That's
good. So you were literally walking through exactly how everything works. I mean, you were educating them, because you think about it too, like, I wonder how true this is of all insurance, just like how little the population knows, just about insurance, just how confused they are and how complicated it seems, especially freaking Medicare, man.
Well, I mean, it's in the numbers, by 2030, there'll be 80 million Americans on Medicare. By 2030. Right now, there's about 50 million. Out of the 50 million, about 30% of them actually do something. There is a significant lack of people, and that's the need for agents. That's the reason for education. And if agents would just say, I need to go in and do my job, and I've done podcasts on this, is do your JOB. Go in there and present. Don't worry about the product. The product will sell itself. What you put in front of them will sell. But find out, where their doctors is, where their heartburn is, what they're used to. They're going to buy from you if they like you and trust you. Yeah. Now, when it comes to objections, you're going to get one of three things. But you have to first identify if they're a prospect. Do they have the ability to pay? Do they have the ability to pay? Do they have a need, right? And then if they have the ability to pay, because if they say they're not interested, that's on you. Meaning, what did I not explain that I should have explained so they'll end up doing it? Yes. But do they have the ability to pay? They all have to do it, right? They might not be able to afford a $50 plan, but there's a zero premium plan, right? But you find that out through the process. And then the last thing is, are they willing to listen? If they're not willing to listen, you should know within 10 or 15 minutes. I had a lady I met with, 89 years old. She's like, yep. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not willing to change. I said, okay, even if I could show you a better program than what you're on now to save the money to get that drug that you wanted, you're not willing to change. She said, no. I asked 3 more times. I said, okay, I can't help you if you're not willing, but not willing to listen. Have a nice day. See you. I was there 10 minutes. So, I mean, the pressure's off of me. It's on my job to ask the questions, my job to do my opportunity to do my job and present. That's it.
Yeah. So do they, are they willing to pay? Do they have the need?
Yeah.
And then
listen.
Yeah. Are they willing to listen? That's good. I mean, that's 3, I mean, for any type of insurance, like that's a 3-pronged approach. Those are kind of like, honestly, like rules for you, and like, okay, do they have the ability to pay? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay. Do they have a need? Yes. Yeah. Will they listen and actually, is there potential there? No. Okay.
Well, Ben, and I'd say you could eliminate 2 of those. If they don't have the ability to pay, you need to find the money, because everybody should have the ability to pay.
Yeah.
And then the last one is, if they have a need, they'll have a need. The need's on me to sell.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Why do they need to get on Medicare? Why do they need to get life insurance? Why do they need to get this product? Well, they may have money in the bank, but they want to drain their assets to get or they want to spend $30, $40 a month to offset risk. It's their choice. But it's my job to present.
Yeah. When you're bringing on, like, what does it look like when you're bringing on agents? Like, of some of the more successful stories, like you mentioned a story recently about a guy that was, I don't know, he was earlier today. He was making good money, and he's afraid to make the jump. Like, talk through that.
Man, I got so many stories about agents coming on board. I could tell you for days, but I'll tell you one that resonates with me recently. I have an agent on my team. he was always referred to as the drunk older brother. And he's the older sibling, joined the military, the most unlikely person you'd ever think would sell insurance. And I could tell you, if somebody is willing, meaning the individual's willing and to apply themselves, anybody can be successful in this industry. So what he did, though, so the drunk older brother, he weighed 498 pounds when I met him.
Wow.
And could not get a job at 7-Eleven. Actually got his insurance license because he went to work for a call center. So they paid for him to get insurance license, one of these call centers that hires and fires, lets people every 6 months.
Yeah.
And guess what? He was there for 6 months. AEP ended. They let him go. The excuse is he took too many bathroom breaks. So what am I going to do? Like, he didn't know what to do. He'd liquidated all of his assets to get custody of his daughter, which is an amazing story in itself, was on state Medicaid, and now he's making $400,000 a year. But my point is, anybody can do it if they're willing. But what he did is he sat in a retail kiosk for 5 years. 5 years, and he handed out business cards like crazy. Business cards. He still gets calls to this day from people he handed business cards to years ago. And that's all he did. And he just sat there and talked to everybody. Hey, I see that, you like ice cream, or I like your shirt, or hey, start a conversation. He talked where his feet were, and now he's making $400,000 a year. His house paid for. He's got more toys than me, and he's living the dream. He's gone down, what is it, 200 and just under 300 pounds. Taking care of his health, changed his whole trajectory. 55 years old. His wife's, not his wife, but his daughter's now graduating from college. Just phenomenal story how he goes from state Medicaid to, making almost $500,000 a year in a short period of time because he was willing. And I tell you what, I tell him all the time, dude, I said, you are the most combative salesperson I've ever known. Because he's like, I'm going to show you what I have is better. I'm like, but people need him. And I'm just like, I don't sell that way. And it isn't like, but his system works.
Yeah.
But he was willing. He rode with me, no joke, for 6 months, side by side, all over the place. We'd go together, working together, and we would split apps, but not households. So, and we had a great time doing it. And I've got a lot of stories like that from a lot of my agents and what they're able to do.
Wow. Did you think through that? That's like, man, do you think about changing your life to the fact that you lose a couple hundred pounds, end up making almost $500,000 a year? It's like, dang, dude, that's
his brothers and sisters are doctors and lawyers, and he makes more money than they do.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, and he's got a lot of toys. He's living the dream. 55 years old, and he's like, I didn't think I was going to live past 50.
Wow.
So
how's it make you feel?
Oh, it's so rewarding. That's the stories I get to tell.
Yeah.
I had to change. I was a personal producer. I have 850 clients myself, right? And somebody told me, Ty, if you get a high from writing a policy, you're in the right industry. Now I have to look at the stories I'm able to tell from the successful agents that come on board. And the retention rate for my agents is 98%. If I lose an agent, it just wasn't a good fit. Meaning they want a salary job. It's not a salary job that I have. They wanted the security. This is 1099. You can make as much money as you want. There's nothing stopping you from making $1 million a year. It just wasn't a good fit.
Correct.
But the agents that buy into the systems, they do really well, and I have hundreds of them.
Yeah. So let's talk through the system, right? What have you learned? It's like, okay, if they plug in and do these things, they tend to see success. That's
a fun story. I think the first thing is that I always, if they come on board, I like to have a game plan. What are they willing to do? Can they give me one, and it's part-time, full-time, or sometime. Yeah. Can they give me one night a week? Can they give me 2 nights a week? Like, for instance, I did a call blitz Wednesday night, had 12 agents there. Between those 12 agents, they scheduled 30 appointments. Then out of the 20 dials they made, they averaged 2.1 appointments per page, like leads. So it works if they'll do the time. Yeah. And if they're not, it's time or money or both. So when they come on board, I don't want them if they won't do a dream board. They have to have their why. They have to know what they're trying to accomplish. They have to know if they're trying to pay their rent. They have to know if they're trying to get out of a day job. I think I mentioned this story as well, is that a stay-at-home mom that just wants to make $400 more a month because she wants to go on a vacation and not ask the husband for $5,000. Well, guess what? She's been with me 4 months. She's already making $400 a month. So that's the beauty of what she's able to do, is just, if they're willing, the thing is, there's so many people that need help. The leads are there.
Correct.
And a lead is not a sell. A lead is an opportunity to have a conversation, and that's where you got to. I've had agents when they're making calls like, here's the common objections, have them right in front of you. And guess what? Over time, they're all the same. The first thing I'm going to tell you, I'm not interested. Well, why'd they send a lead card in then, right? I mean, as soon as they heard the word, this is Ty Brady, I help people aging into Medicare, out of Medicare, I'm returning the call or returning the information requested about Medicare, you got to be ready for a rebuttal.
Yeah.
Very few of them are going to say, oh, I'm so glad you called. I need to get on that program I heard on TV, blah, 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 blah. No, they don't do that.
No, they don't.
Or I'm getting so many calls, they're like, I don't want to talk to you. I understand you're getting a lot of calls, but you have an important decision to make. I need a few minutes. Is right now a good time?
Right.
So it's all those rebuttals. And you do it enough, you're going to come up with the wording.
100%. That's also the persistence of just like literally continuing constantly, continuing when things aren't going well, continuing, you get hung up on, you're having a bad day, like you're getting pushback during an appointment. Like everyone, and that's what's, I don't think new salespeople understand this, but like everybody's going to get pushback. I don't care if you're new or you've been in the business forever. Like it's just going to happen,
I call it objection is just air. You either agree, ignore, or resolve. So you agree with what they're saying. You know what? Now's not a good time. I understand now's not a good time. I understand you're really busy. I'm really busy as well. Do you have a time in your schedule? I only need 10 or 15 minutes. That's agreeing, right? Ignore. If they say I'm not interested, I'll say, well, I see that you requested information about Medicare. Is that right? I'm not interested. I didn't even acknowledge.
That's good.
And then resolve would be like, okay, I understand that you're going on vacation. You'll be gone this week, but I know I'm really busy. Can I put you on my schedule for Tuesday at 2 or 4? All three of those were objections. I overcame every single one of them.
That's good.
One of those, over time, you're going to learn that.
That's where the AIR acronym comes from.
Yeah.
Agree, ignore, and resolve.
Yeah.
Wow. There's so many layers to this guy, dude. We hadn't talked about this part.
No.
That's really good. That's really, really good. Because, too, I like the ignore piece because I feel like with objections, it can be easy for it to not be real, but then an agent makes it real.
Oh, yeah.
Versus, yeah.
Ask another question. I was listening to an agent. What I noticed is I've been doing these call blitzes. I go back to, because years ago I used to do them every week, every night. And I got away from them. And I'm like, you know what? I need to help, because I'm getting so many agents on board. I'm like, I got to do these for these newer agents. And I'm listening to this agent call, and he calls up and he says, hey, is Teresa there? And this was just this last Wednesday. And no, this is Ryan. Well, does anybody in the house need help with Medicare? I'm like, I've never taught him that. But he straight up asked that. And he's like, no, I'm not on Medicare yet. I won't be there for another 20 years. And the agent's like, well, can I call you in 20 years? He made fun, right? He got somebody on the phone. I'm like, that's the way you do it.
That's
right?
hilarious.
Just have it. Or you know what? If you're selling, well, hey, do you need help with life insurance, right?
Yeah.
I think I was telling you, I got on some crazy list about some free AC deal.
Correct.
I'm getting calls 6, 8, 10 a day. I'm on some list on Google. I'm trying to get Google to get me off it. And they call up and say, I'm in Pennsylvania and I see how do I get this free AC? I'm like, listen, I'm sorry. I don't know where I'm coming from. Can you send me a screenshot? Because Google can't find the ad. And it's a pop-up, but it has my number. And I said, listen, I help people aging into Medicare, on in Medicare with health insurance. I can help you with that. But a free AC, I have no idea. The interesting thing is when you talk with your fee are, you get leads. I sent 2 leads to one of my agents in South Carolina, and she sold them both. Because people were confused about their Medicare and needed help.
Yeah, after calling in about free AC.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to get off the list. I'm like, I don't want them calling me.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're and you know what? You answered.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? I'm gonna take a chance. Well, sometimes those chances work out, man.
Yeah, it's a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never know. Sometimes they connect.
Out of 100 calls, I got 2 leads. Why not?
Yeah. It helped your agents for sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool. Dude, I love hanging out with you. You're so positive. You're always bringing so much value. If they want to learn more, what should they do?
There's a lot of ways you can connect. Have a big presence on social media at ty.r.brady. That's my personal page / a little bit of business in there. Brady Insurance is consumer facing, so that's if trying to drive traffic for leads. But the other one is the Ty Brady Way, my podcast show. Cody will be on that podcast show as well. But ty.r.brady, or you can reach out to me at my direct number. I do tell people, leave me a message. I do get a lot of spam calls, but leave me a message. I will get back with you. It is 1-385-800-1956. That's 1-385-800-1956. Or you can DM me. ty.r.brady is on TikTok, Instagram. What are all the platforms? Pretty much all of them, right? There's some no-name ones, but the major ones you can find me on. You'll see my picture. Hit me up, and let's have a conversation, see how I can help.
Kaboom. Thanks for being on today, brother. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Thank you guys also for hanging out and listening, man. I'm hoping you got some extreme gold. If you look back, you're like, dude, I loved that. Let us know in comments below what that was. Also, shoot Ty a text. He is here to help, an unbelievable dude. Also, to reward you for making it this long in the podcast, if you haven't tried our Kaboom leads, you can go to kaboomleads.com, use coupon code YouTube, and get 10% off of your very first lead order.
Just remember, a lead is not a sell. It drives me crazy. Everyone always asks me, how are the leads? I'm like, it's only as good as the agent working the leads. Willing to ask the question. Overcome those objections. Remember, an objection is just air. Give me a shot. I've had some agents love them.
Agree, ignore, and resolve.
Yeah, that's right.
Dude, I love that. Thank you guys for hanging with us, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Adios.